Good day, everyone. Good day, classmates. Good day to you, sir. I am Ruby May J. Estrella, one of the members of the Group 2, and I was assigned to report the topic of what is HACCP. What comes in your mind when you hear a word HACCP? Does HACCP useful to the food business industry? Was having an HACCP in food industry can help the food business? Well, the HACCP is the hazard analysis and critical control point. Is a system which provides the framework for monitoring the total food system to reduce foodborne illness. It's a management system in which food safety is addressed through the analysis and control of biological, chemical, and physical hazards. From raw material production, procurement and handling to manufacturing, distribution, and consumption of the finished product is designed for use in all segments of the food industry, from growing, harvesting, processing, manufacturing, distributing, and merchandising to prepare for consumption. FDA has recommended the HACCP system in order for them to identify and control potential problems before they occur. What is food safety management? Food safety management is a systematic approach to controlling food safety hazards with a food business in order to ensure that the food is safe to eat. All businesses are required to put in place, implement, and maintain a FSMS or Food Safety Management System based on the principles of hazard analysis, critical control point or HACCP. Implementing a HACCP system requires both the prerequisite programs and HACCP plans are implemented. Prerequisite programs are programs that are put in place in facility to control hazards in the environment, preventing contamination of the product. All food business must have in place prerequisite programs, PRPS. These are good hygiene practices that are the basic conditions and activities necessary to maintain a hygienic environment. Prerequisite programs includes building and equipment design, cleaning and sanitation, proper facilities, personal hygiene, maintenance, waste management, pest control, staff training. Premises and structure, design and layout of workplace allowing for one direction production flow, sufficient lighting, especially in food preparation and inspection areas, suitable employee facilities, hand washing facilities, external and interior construction of walls, floors, and doors. Personal hygiene measures need to be placed to ensure that the food handlers do not contaminate food. This objective can be attained by maintaining an appropriate level of personal cleanliness and following guidelines for personal hygiene. The maintenance and sanitation is very important. These procedures and works instructions should exist to demonstrate an adequate level of an establishment as well as efficient practices for cleaning, waste management, and pest control. Overall, these operations will support the ongoing control of potential food hazard that they contaminate food. There should be a training. All food handlers should be trained all those practices, especially the food or the personal hygiene. Ongoing food training program for food handlers is paramount to the success of a food safety management. HACCP has 7 principles. What are the 7 principles of HACCP? So the 7 principles of the HACCP are: first is hazard analysis, second is critical control point or CCP, third is we have critical limits, fourth is we have monitoring system, fifth is corrective action, sixth is verification, and seven is documentation. The first HACCP principles is the hazard analysis. So what is hazard analysis? Hazard analysis is one of the most important tasks. An inaccurate hazard analysis would inevitably lead to the development of an inadequate HACCP plan to make the pod safe, to develop less of hazard which are likely cause injury or illness. It is if they are not controlled. Will vary among firms making the same products because of differences in sources of ingredients, number one. Number two is formulation. Number three is processing and preparation method. Number four is duration of process. Number five is storage conditions. And number six is the experience, knowledge, and attitude of the personnel. The hazard must be done on all existing and new products. First step, identification of all potential hazards associated with the product at all stages, the all biological, chemical, and the physical hazards. So we have steps to measure to control hazard. First is eliminate the hazard. Second is substitute the hazard with a lesser risk. Number four is use engineering controls. Number five, use administrative controls. Number six, use personal protective equipment or the PPE. Number two is the critical control points or the CCP. CCP is any step in which hazard can be prevented, eliminated, or reduced to accept levels. CCPs are usually practice or procedures which cannot be done correctly are the leading cause of foodborne illness outbreaks. Example is cooking, cooling, reheating, and holding. Number three is the critical limits. Critical limits is in any biological, chemical, or physical hazard that is controlled by CCP. Each CCP should have at least one critical limit. Critical limits must be something that can be monitored by measurement or observation. They must be significantly or regulatory based. Example is temperature, time, pH, water activity, or available chlorine. Number four is the monitoring system. Monitoring system is a plan which includes observations or measurements to assess the CCP is being met. It provides a record of the flow of flood through the establishment. If monitoring indicates the critical limits are not being met, then an action must be taken to bring the process back into control. The monitoring system is easy to use and meet the needs of the food establishment as well as regulatory authority. It is important that the job of monitoring be assigned to a specific individual and they be trained in monitoring technique. Number five is the corrective action. Criteria of the critical limit is not being met. Some type of corrective action must be taken. They must meet the standard established. And step 3 must be based on facts or for normal working conditions and must be measurable. Corrective action may range. Example, continue cooking until the established temperature is reached to throw out the product, depending on the severity of the situation. Number 6, verification. These procedures are activities other than monitoring that determine the validity of the HACCP plan and that system is operating according to plan. An important aspect of verification is to determine if the plan is scientifically and technically sound. Also, all the hazards have been identified technically and that if the CCP plan is properly implemented, this hazard can be effectively controlled. Verification can be accomplished by expert advice and scientific studies, and observations of the flow of food, measurement, and evaluation. A review of the establishment critical limits provides an opportunity to make modification. Number 7 is the documentation. It is the procedure that complete which includes the information that illustrates the established standards are being met. Employees need to be trained on the record-keeping procedure. Examples of documentations are time temperature logs, checklist, forms, flowcharts, employee training logs, and SOPs. Next is the HACCP process flow map. First is we have purchase, delivery, storage, preparation, cooking, food holding, and service. Number 1 is purchase. The hazard of the purchase is biologically, physically, and chemically contaminated products. To control those hazards is we must find or go to the approved suppliers. Number 2 is delivery. The hazard of delivery is biologically, physically, and chemically contaminated product. To control those is we must find or go to approved suppliers. Next is delivery vehicle inspection. We must have a vehicle inspection. Then lastly is we have visual checks of products and data code. Number 3 is the storage. After we purchase with the deliver is we have the restore. Then the hazard of storage is contamination, multiplication of bacteria. To control this is we have to maintain correct temperature, segregate the products, stock rotation, the FIFO, the first in, first out, the first expired, first out. 4 is the preparation. The hazard of preparation is the contamination, multiplication of bacteria. To control this is we must separate the raw and the prepared food, the cook and the not. Then next is color coding system, especially when it comes to the cutting board. Next is clean and sanitize utensils and work areas. We must always clean and sanitize. Then minimize handling and time keep up room temperature. We must keep it at a room temperature and we must minimize handling the food to prevent from contamination or the multiplication of the bacteria. Number 5 is cooking. Its hazard is survival of microorganisms. To control is we must cook thoroughly to core temperature at 75 degrees Celsius. Number 6 is the food holding hazard. Hazard of food holding is contamination and multiplication of bacteria. To control this, we must, or in holding, hot hold, maintain above 63 degrees Celsius above and cover the food. The cold hold is stored below 5 degrees and also cover the food. Then is the last is the service. Its hazard is contamination or the multiplication of bacteria. To control this is we must maintain the correct temperatures, clean and sanitize utensils, and minimize handling.